Series X 6 nanometer. Yes! We found it! Well, 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 what do we have here other than a brand new asterisk Xbox Series X? So it has been 4 long years, my friends, since Microsoft graced the world with the beautiful Xbox Series X. And today, I believe is the first time you've really seen a proper redesign with the brand new digital edition. So thank you very much to Microsoft for sending us an early review unit of the Series X digital. So there's a little bit of a refresh across the board when it comes to the Xbox lineup. So at the very top, there is the Xbox Series X 2 terabyte. Honestly, it's actually kind of nice to have that kind of extra storage, but this one's expensive. This is going to come in at $600. The thing I think a lot of people are gonna be more excited about though is the all digital Series X. At $450, it is essentially the same price as the PS5 Slim digital edition, right? Why are there 2 Xboxes? Did they see the special edition? Oh!
Fancy.
So we have our robot white Xbox Series X controller with slot for AA batteries, because it's 2024 and people love AA batteries. Behold, my friends, the all digital Xbox Series X. Oh, it's so much lighter. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now my assumption is that when we crack this thing open, we're gonna find there's just an empty slot, because that's what they did with the Xbox One S all digital. We're 4 years into the Xbox Series X, and my first impression the very first time I got to crack one open and look at it all the way back in 2020 was, good Lord, this is an expensive looking console. So obviously no disk drive is gonna help, but I'm curious if there's anything inside of this that will actually be cheaper. Next up, let's unbox the special edition. Now this is, as far as I know, an actual special edition. I don't know that there's like a specifically like super limited supply of them. So this is the Galaxy Black 2 terabyte Xbox Series X. So one of the big differences here is the controller. So you see that you've got the little speckle design on the D-pad. It also has the sort of black and green colorway, which I think looks really nice. Ooh. You still have that kind of like two-tone grille, so it's kind of black and then green. But from the front, it looks nice. Now, I will say, since I first looked at it, something got me. I was like, oh, like, it looks like something. And then someone said it looks a little bit like paint splatters, and as soon as I heard that, I can't unsee it. So for context, this is an original Xbox Series X. The only thing that's really different between these two, at least on paper, is the fact that this has not only the different colorway, but also has a 2 terabyte SSD inside. I have a bunch of questions about the new lineup. So first of all, how much lighter is this guy? Because the digital edition feels like incredibly light compared to the big guys. So to start, this is the original 2020 launch model of the Series X, which comes in at a total of 4.2 kilos. Now if I swap on our new 2 terabyte model, it weighs a whopping 4.1? I kind of just assumed that these were going to be mostly the same. That's not a big difference, but that's enough of a difference that maybe there actually are some differences on the inside. I guess we need to take a closer look, but before we move on too far, let's take a look to see what the digital edition weighs, because it certainly feels a lot lighter to me. And this one weighs 3.6. Obviously, I'm going to spend some time using these consoles, but maybe, just maybe, we should take a little peek inside the digital and see what's up. Come on, do you really think that a new console can possibly be released without me wanting to tear it open to see what's new? What is this? Linus Tech Tips or something? Oof. Let's start out with the special edition with the disk drive. We'll just open this a little bit just to kind of see what the internal should look like with the disk, and then we'll take a look at the diskless one and go as far as we need to get the answers that we deserve. And if you deserve answers like I do, then you should subscribe to the Austin Evans channel and ring-a-ling the ding-a-ling button. So if it's anything like the older ones, I should be able to peel up this sticker and this one to get access to the screws. Now, should go without saying, don't try this at home. If you do, Mr. Microsoft would be real grumpy about your warranty status. Now, I don't think these stickers don't really go back on very well after, which is probably by design.
Are you telling people to commit warranty fraud?
This does feel a little bit bad to do this to the limited edition version, but we'll put it back together real easy, don't worry. Why that little dude? Oh, I scratched. It's okay, I just a little scratch. It's fine, I'll put my finger there so I'll bleed instead. Okay, you know what, that's fine. I was being too gentle with it, thank you.
Yeah, then you scratch the rest of it.
And inside we've got, oh my goodness, is that an Xbox Series X? I'll say that this looks essentially the same. You have the same little Easter eggs where you've got your little Master Chief right here on the fan grill. So for context, this is the inside of the 2 terabyte edition. And let's take a look to see what's inside the digital edition. I'm looking for a couple things. Obviously, I'm just curious about how they have designed it without the disk drive, which lives right here. But I'm also curious to see if there's anything else that's different on the inside. This actually, the white one, it's gonna be really dumb. It has like a totally different kind of sticker. The other one peeled off no problem. This one's actually crumbling. I think the white sticker's thinner. It's just a hole. It's just a big fat hole.
Can you take the disk drive from the not all digital and make the all digital a not all digital?
Maybe, or let me take a look for a second actually. All right, my second Xbox plate. The big difference here is that this is the disk drive and this is a giant gap where the disk drive would be. I don't know that you could just drop a disk drive in. You would certainly have to cut a hole in the front if you're going to actually add enough space. We happen to have already prepared a Series X disk drive, which I think, would clearly just fit in here, right? Yeah. Now the question would be more so if they still have the connector. I mean, it really does seem like you're just missing this disk drive. I'm not seeing anything else that's obvious. All right, my friends, I'll be right back after I have thoroughly and scientifically dissected this Series X to see if there are any hidden gems inside or whether I'm gonna waste my afternoon looking for literally nothing. So this is the heatsink for the Xbox Series X Digital Edition, which as far as I can tell is the same on this Galaxy. What you might notice is that we have some big copper heat pipes. What you may also notice is that these are new. So if you compare it with the heatsink from an original launch Series X, this does not use heat pipes because instead it uses a vapor chamber. Now this is technically a better cooling solution, right? But it's more expensive. It looks like this one actually wouldn't even bolt up to it, right? It's got all the same sort of like screw holes. One could be so bold as to say that this cooling could be worse.
So dramatic.
I found something. I didn't think there was gonna be anything different on the inside.
I'm getting some deja vu, dude. Like, you're gonna do this again, and then all the Xbox boys are gonna get mad at you.
I didn't say it's worse yet. Yoink. Well, oh, yeah, of course, because there's 4 screws holding in from the other side. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I got a little excited. All right, so we have found a few interesting things. So this is the daughter board from the original Series X, and this is the digital. So while they're very similar, you can see that this has both a SATA and power on it for the disk drive. The traces are there, but it's not actually attached. So even if you could retrofit a disk drive onto the digital, you have to solder on new connectors, and I bet the firmware wouldn't work. But much more interestingly, if you look at the actual main motherboard, there are some pretty substantial differences. So for context, this is the motherboard on the existing Series X. A couple things to note, you've got this little shield, which is there to help kind of hold the actual cooler on. And if you look on this side, you'll see that this is where the SSD lives underneath this little metal connector. Well, if you look at the new motherboard, you'll see it's very different. Not only is it a much more pleasant shade of green, but they have redesigned this motherboard. That was on the floor, it's fine. So you're missing the little bracket that went around it as well as the shield, so that's just not on there, as well as there's no more shield over the SSD. The other thing that I'm a little bit more excited about is that this is actually just a completely different motherboard. Even though it looks similar, almost every single component I'm looking at here has been simplified, shrunk down, changed, moved around, even though most things are in these sort of similar positions. I think it's safe to say that it's different, right? But the question is it better or worse? I just love doing the little spinny thing.
Stop
I
doing
can't
that.
help it.
So in theory,
The
stuff that the all digital is experiencing right now with
Yes.
the new chip and everything, or in theory, new
Yeah.
chip, would probably be in the speckly one as well.
From the outside, the special edition model does have the same cooler, right? So you can see the heat pipes poking out the side. This looks like changes they made across the board for 2024 and onward. So I'm gonna carefully pick up the motherboard. Oh, that's so different. Oh, it's smaller. So this is the original vapor chamber from a launch Series X, and this is the much less vapory looking cooler from the existing 2024 models. Instead of being copper, it looks like it's aluminum or steel, I'm not entirely sure. I guess I can't be 1000% sure, that there is not a vapor chamber here. Let's go ahead and pull out the scale and see what the weight of these coolers are. And this comes in at 804 grams. And then the 2024 cooler comes in at 700 grams. That's a huge part of our weight difference right there. If you tally that, plus some of the smaller things like the newer Xbox Series X doesn't have this little shield on the back, that's it. My strong suspicion is they have swapped out this vapor chamber with a more traditional heat pipe cooler, which to be fair, is exactly what you will find on the PlayStation 5. Let's take a closer look at this chip. Series X 6 nanometer! Yes! We found it! So this is confirmed a shrunken down version of the original Series X SoC. Basically what this means is that this new Series X is cheaper to manufacture. I would expect it's probably running at the exact same clock speeds, but is using slightly less voltage to hit those clock speeds, which in turn means that they were able to save some money not only by having a slightly smaller chip, but what it does enable them to do is to jettison the more expensive vapor chamber in favor of a more traditional heatsink with a bunch of copper heat pipes instead. Now we gotta confirm that all of these changes are also going to be in the special edition, but I would be shocked if they're not. And one of the things I wanna mention, because I know that people are gonna ask about it, is that when it came to the PS5, I kind of roasted it when the 1100 came out, because what they did was they took the exact same chip from the original launch PS5 1 year later, and they cut the heatsink down significantly and they called it a day, right? Which is objectively a downgrade. But when the 1200 came around, while they also shrank the heatsink more, when you go down to a smaller chip, that actually makes sense because a smaller chip is going to be more efficient, is going to need less thermal sort of headroom. I'll be right back with some hopefully promising or concerning news about the next couple years of Xbox. I tried to spin it and I did it the wrong way. The next couple of years of your Xbox future. God, this is so good. And so, my friends, we have some numbers, but the TLDR is that the new Xbox Series X is better. First and foremost, we ran the same series of tests on our digital Xbox Series X, which of course has been disassembled. We put it back together and repasted and everything. So in addition to this, we also tested the unmodified Xbox Series X Special Edition. And on top of that, we also ran a normal Xbox Series X from 2020. So a completely original launch model that has been untouched. So when it comes to thermals, the exhaust on all three of these are essentially identical. 39, 40 degrees Celsius, and same thing goes for noise. Now, we were getting essentially the same readings, which is about 39 decibels on all three, but that's mostly because that's the room tone. Putting my ear up to all three of these consoles, you can't hear them. But the real difference is in power draw. Starting out with the original launch Xbox Series X. In idle, we were getting about 61 watts, so that's just sitting on the dashboard doing nothing. On the Xbox Series X 2 terabyte, the special edition, we saw a reduction of about 10 watts. This was running at 51 watts. And the digital, almost bizarrely, was running at 38 watts. It could just be it won the chip lottery and it has a very efficient chip at idle, I don't know. Or maybe the fact that there's no disk drive, or even the fact that we changed the thermal paste. Maybe we put more on than they had at the factory. I don't fully know. But what I will tell you is that the results between the two, modified and unmodified, are consistent enough, especially when it comes to the thermals and especially the load when it comes to actually gaming. It's close enough that I feel pretty confident in these kind of numbers that these new Series X's are just straight up better than the old one. That's a pretty substantial difference because you think about it, when you're letting your console sit there and chill out, right? So it's either sitting on the menu, it's downloading updates, you're watching YouTube or Netflix or whatever, the power draw is substantially lower on both of the newer consoles. The bigger difference, or at least for gamers at least, is going to be when you're actually playing a game. We ran Forza Horizon 5, the exact same sort of stress test and the same sort of benchmark for the opening scene with the Porsche driving through the forest, which we saw had the highest power draw. And again, the newer consoles are better. So starting out with, we have the original Series X. That came in at about 167 watts on average driving through that section. The digital model came in at 156 watts, and the 2 terabyte came in at 151. So what you're seeing here is an 11 to 16 watt reduction in power for the same performance. Now that might not sound crazy, and it's not, but it is roughly in line with the kind of numbers we saw when we got the 1200 model of the PS5, which is also a 6 nanometer chip. So essentially what you're getting here is less power draw, which means a slightly lower power bill, but importantly, no real downsides for that lower power draw. Basically, if you're gonna sum this whole video up, it is really like this. The brand new Xbox Series X. So whether it be the digital, the special edition, I'm assuming the future 1TB models as well. I can't confirm it, but my assumption is if you see an Xbox Series X with the newer style of box, it very likely is one of these consoles with a 6nm processor. All of these new Xbox Series X's are using the new redesigned cooling solution and the updated 6nm chip. And what you're getting here is essentially the exact same experience in every possible way, except that it is a bit more efficient. So you're gonna be saving a little bit on the power. But as far as I can tell, there is zero downside to the admittedly cost savings that Microsoft have done, which is really interesting. I have a bunch of questions though. Namely, has the Series S seen any kind of technical changes? Because to my knowledge, it's just a change in the colorway. But based on this, it's totally possible that Series S has also seen a similar kind of upgrade. But if you'd like to learn more, definitely be sure to go check out our This Is video. We go much more in depth on the theory behind Xbox's strategy. And you also should make sure to subscribe to this channel. The PS5 Pro is right around the corner, my friends. And while this has been a really fun look at what Xbox has been cooking up, I have a feeling that the Sony gang have got something even more spicy when it comes to PS5 Pro, and you'll be doing all kind of content on it. So subscribe, ring-a-ling the ding-a-ling button, and I'm going to go enjoy my additional 10 to 13 watts of power usage.
It'll be cheaper for me to play Forza.
You're gonna save, Ken, cents per month in your Powerball.
That's cheaper Game Pass in boy math.